September 15th, 1940, southern England. The sound reaches the radar station before the aircraft ever appear. It begins as a faint, irregular pulse in the headphones, barely distinguishable from background noise. Aircraft woman, second class Margaret Hughes, adjusts the dial. Her gloved fingers steady despite the tension crawling up her spine. The cathode ray tube in front of her flickers. A thin green line sweeps across the screen. Then, there it is. A cluster of spikes. Multiple returns. Large. Raid forming, she says quietly, forcing her voice to stay level. Above the English Channel, sunlight glints off hundreds of aluminum wings. German bombers, Heinkel He-111s, and Dornier Do-17s move in tight formations, escorted by Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighters. Their engines drone in unison, a mechanical thunder rolling toward the British coast. The crews believe they are unseen, invisible, safe, at least for now. They are wrong. Inside the concrete bunker at RAF Bentley Priory, Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding stands over a plotting table, marked with coloured blocks and thin wooden sticks. The room hums with low voices, ringing telephones, and the constant scratch of chalk. A young WAF plotter steps forward, placing a red marker on the map. Raid strength estimated 100 plus, height 15,000, approaching Dover. Dowding nods once. He does not look surprised. He has been expecting this moment all morning. This is not luck. This is not guesswork. This is radar. Along the British coastline, tall steel towers rise against the grey sky, ungainly, skeletal, and unmistakable. They are part of the Chain Home system, a network of early warning radar stations stretching from Scotland to the south coast of England. To the untrained eye, they look crude, experimental, temporary. To the men and women working inside them, they are the difference between survival and annihilation. Chain Home is not precise. It cannot tell you the exact number of aircraft or their type. It struggles with altitude accuracy. It is vulnerable to weather and interference, but it does one thing extraordinarily well. It sees the enemy coming. Weeks earlier, German intelligence officers dismissed the towers as radio masts. Some believed they were for navigation. Others thought they were part of Britain's civilian broadcasting network. Luftwaffe pilots were even ordered not to waste bombs on them. They were not considered military targets. That mistake will echo through the war. As the red markers move inland across the plotting table, Dowding gives the order. Fighter squadrons are scrambled. Not all at once, not blindly, but precisely. Spitfires from Biggin Hill. Hurricanes from Northolt. Each unit is vectored toward a specific intercept point, guided by radar reports, observer corps sightings, and centralized control. For the pilots climbing into the sky, it feels almost unnatural. They are not searching the vast blue emptiness for an enemy they might never find. They are being led. Squadron leader Peter Townsend pushes the throttle forward, his hurricane shuddering as it climbs. In his headphones, a calm voice cuts through the static. Vector 180, Angels 15, bandits approaching from the south. Townsend swallows. Roger. Minutes later, the sky explodes. Tracer rounds streak past cockpits. Bombers tighten formation. Fighters peel off into tight turns, contrails carving white scars across the blue. The battle is brutal, chaotic, terrifying, but it is not random. For the first time in history, an air battle is being orchestrated from the ground. Below, radar operators watch their screens as blips merge, scatter, and disappear. Some returns fade suddenly. Aircraft destroyed, crashing into the Channel or English fields. Others turn back, retreating toward France. The system works. By nightfall, Britain still stands. But even as fires burn in London and smoke hangs over the Thames, something deeper has shifted. War in the air is no longer just about pilots and machines. It is about information, detection, control. Physics has entered the fight. Across the Channel, German commanders pore over after-action reports. Losses are higher than expected. British fighters seem to appear at exactly the wrong moments. Always in the right place, always at the right altitude. There is talk of luck. of coincidence, of British pilots simply being more aggressive. Few suspect the truth, and fewer still realize that this crude, flickering technology, this awkward marriage of radio waves and cathode tubes, is only at the beginning of its evolution. Because soon, radar will leave the coastline. It will climb into the aircraft themselves. And when that happens, the air war will change forever. February 25th, 1941, the North Sea, night. The bomber crew cannot see the water below them. There is no moon tonight, no horizon, just darkness pressing against the cockpit glass as Flight Lieutenant John Cunningham adjusts his grip on the controls of his Bristol Beaufighter. The engines thrum steadily, a low vibration you feel in your bones, more than hear with your ears. In the back of the aircraft, hunched over a glowing screen, sits radar operator Sergeant Philip Evans. The display is small, crude, a pale green line sweeping in a slow arc. "Contact," Evans says suddenly. His voice tightens. "Bearing 085, range 4 miles. Cunningham's pulse quickens. 4 miles. At night, that might as well be arm's length. This is airborne interception radar, AI radar. A new idea, a dangerous one, a fragile one. Instead of relying on ground controllers to guide fighters close to enemy bombers, this system allows the fighter to find its target alone, in darkness, using reflected radio waves. It has taken years of trial, error, crashes, and fatal mistakes to get this far. Cunningham eases the Beaufighter into a gentle turn, trusting a machine he cannot see and barely understands. Range decreasing, Evans continues. 2 miles, slightly below us. Outside, the sky remains empty. German bombers, Heinkels and Junkers, are crossing Britain under cover of night, believing themselves safe from interception. They have already adapted to chain home by switching to nocturnal raids. London burns in darkness. Coventry is shattered. Liverpool smoulders. But tonight, the darkness belongs to someone else. 1 mile. Cunningham leans forward, eyes straining. Then, there, a darker shape against blacker black. A faint exhaust flicker. He fires. The Beaufighter's cannons roar, orange flashes ripping through the night. The bomber erupts into flame, spiraling downward in a silent scream. Cunningham pulls away hard, heart hammering. It is over in seconds. On the ground, British commanders study the results with disbelief. Night fighters are no longer blind. The bomber stream is no longer untouchable after sunset. Radar has broken the night. But this victory is fragile. AI radar sets are heavy, temperamental. Early versions require enormous antennas, spindly arrowhead arrays that create drag and slow the aircraft. Screens are vague. Operators require intense training. One wrong interpretation, one misread echo, and the fighter can overshoot, collide, or lose the target entirely. Still, the principle works. And across the Atlantic, someone is paying very close attention. December 8th, 1941, Washington, D.C. The room is quiet as the briefing concludes. Charts are rolled up. Ashtrays are full. President Franklin D. Roosevelt listens without interrupting as British representatives describe chain home, AI radar, and the lessons learned under fire. The attack on Pearl Harbor is less than 24 hours old. America is at war. What Britain has done with radar is no longer a national secret. It is a blueprint. American engineers from the Radiation Laboratory at MIT, newly created and rapidly expanding, begin dissecting British designs with ruthless efficiency. Magnetrons, waveguides, power supplies, displays, everything is examined, improved, scaled. Where Britain had innovation born of desperation, America brings industrial momentum. By 1942, American factories are producing radar sets by the tens of thousands. Smaller, more reliable, more powerful. Aircraft that once struggled under the weight of primitive systems now carry compact, refined equipment. Radar spreads everywhere. Fighters, bombers, ships, submarines. It moves from warning to control, from detection to dominance. July 1942, RAF Fighter Command Headquarters. The plotting tables look different now. Chain home still provides early warning, but it is no longer alone. Mobile radar units fill gaps. Improved altitude detection refines intercepts. Night fighters equipped with AI radar patrol assigned boxes in the sky, hunting bombers like predators. German losses climb, and slowly, German confidence erodes. Luftwaffe crews report strange encounters, fighters appearing from nowhere, even in cloud or darkness, bombers shot down without ever seeing their attacker. Radio chatter grows tense, defensive formations tighten, morale suffers. German scientists are not blind. They know radar exists. Germany has its own systems, Freya and Würzburg, but doctrine lags behind capability. Radar is treated as a support tool, not the backbone of an integrated air defense system. There is no single doubting figure, no unified command structure tying sensors, fighters, and decision makers together in real time. Physics without organization. Meanwhile, the Allies push further. By 1943, radar is no longer just about finding the enemy. It is about guiding entire formations across hostile territory. And that means putting radar into the bombers themselves. Deep inside a B-17 cockpit, beneath layers of wiring and insulation, a new screen will soon glow. One that can see coastlines, cities, rivers, even through cloud and smoke. The bombers will no longer depend on clear skies. The night will no longer protect Germany. And when that realization finally arrives, it will be too late to stop what is coming. January 27, 1943, 25,000 feet over the North Sea. The bomber vibrates around you, every rivet humming under strain. Inside the nose of a B-17 Flying Fortress, Lieutenant Harold "Red" Jameson watches a circular screen glow faintly green. The rest of the cockpit is dim. Red lights, shadowed faces, oxygen masks hissing softly. Outside, thick cloud blankets the world below. There is no horizon, no stars, no landmarks. Yet Jameson can see England falling away beneath them. The screen is part of a new system, H2S ground mapping radar. Instead of detecting aircraft, it sends pulses downward, bouncing them off terrain, water, and cities. Rivers appear as dark veins. Coastlines curve like chalk lines. Urban areas glow brighter, dense with reflected energy. For the first time, a bomber crew can navigate without sight. Crossing the coast now, Jameson says calmly. The navigator blinks in surprise. We haven't seen it yet. Jameson taps the scope. We have now. This is not theory. This is operational reality. Before radar, bombing accuracy depended on clear skies and visual identification. Clouds, smoke, and darkness could scatter entire raids. German cities survived not because they were unreachable, but because weather often defeated the attackers first. Radar changes that equation. By 1943, British and American bombers begin flying deep into Europe, guided not by landmarks, but by physics. Entire formations are timed and routed using radar fixes. Lead aircraft mark targets based on scope interpretation. Following bombers release on signal. Is it perfect? No, but it is relentless. German defenders notice the change almost immediately. Raids no longer turn back due to weather. Bombers arrive on schedule, even through overcast skies that once provided protection. Cities previously spared by cloud cover are suddenly vulnerable, and German radar stations see something else, something disturbing. On their own Würzburg scopes, returns begin to blur. Screens fill with shimmering noise, blips multiply, stretch, dissolve, operators adjust dials, check connections, curse the equipment. They are being blinded. July 24th, 1943, Hamburg. The sky over northern Germany is alive with aircraft. British bombers approach in carefully spaced streams, stretching miles long. German radar operators scramble to track them, but their scopes are chaos. Clouds of false echoes bloom across the displays, masking real targets. This is window. Bundles of thin aluminum strips, chaff, are dropped by the bombers, cut to precise lengths that reflect radar waves. Each bundle creates the illusion of an aircraft. Thousands of them create phantom fleets. German night fighter controllers cannot tell where to send interceptors. Anti-aircraft batteries fire blindly. Communication breaks down. The bombing that follows, Operation Gomorrah, devastates Hamburg. Firestorms roar through the city. Temperatures rise beyond comprehension. Streets become furnaces. Tens of thousands die. For German commanders, the shock is profound. Radar, once considered a stable pillar of defense, has been turned against them. Physics has become a weapon. Autumn 1943, Berlin. In offices thick with cigarette smoke and frustration, German scientists debate countermeasures, new filters, new frequencies, tighter beam control. But every solution takes time. Every improvement requires production capacity Germany no longer has in abundance. Allied systems, meanwhile, evolve faster than they can be countered. American bombers add radar-assisted navigation systems. Pathfinder units mark targets through cloud. Electronic warfare aircraft jam communications and radar frequencies simultaneously. The air war becomes layered. Detection, jamming, navigation, control, each element reinforcing the others. For bomber crews, this transformation is visceral. They feel it in their missions. Routes are tighter, timing more precise. Losses fluctuate, but patterns emerge. German defenses seem confused, reactive, always a step behind. Pilots still die, bombers still burn. But something fundamental has shifted. The sky is no longer neutral. It is managed. February 1944, RAF Bomber Command briefing room. A large map dominates the wall. Red string traces routes into the heart of Germany. Radar coverage zones are marked. Known enemy stations circled. An intelligence officer points with a stick. Enemy response times have increased by several minutes here and here. Night fighter interceptions drop sharply once window is deployed. Heads nod. Notes are taken. This is warfare as analysis. Not heroics alone, not brute force, but systems thinking. And now, another phase approaches. Radar will not only guide bombers and fighters, it will coordinate them together. Because across the channel, Allied planners are preparing the largest air operation in history, one that will require absolute control of the sky, and radar will decide whether it succeeds or fails. June 5th, 1944, RAF Uxbridge Operations Room, 20 to 30 hours. The room is crowded, tense, alive with quiet urgency. WAF plotters stand at their stations, eyes fixed on glowing maps. Telephones ring in clipped bursts. Cigarette smoke hangs low beneath the lights. On the wall, a massive map of the English Channel and northern France waits to be written upon. Air Vice Marshal Trafford Lee Mallory studies it in silence. Tomorrow morning, the invasion begins. For months, Allied planners have argued over tactics, timing, and risk. But on one point, there is no disagreement. Control of the air is non-negotiable, and control means radar. Across southern England, radar stations are already awake. Chain home stations sweep the horizon. Mobile units fill coverage gaps. Early warning radars watch German airfields. Ground control intercept stations track friendly fighters assembling in the dark. Tonight, radar is not just watching the enemy. It is managing an entire sky. Above the channel, transport aircraft tow gliders packed with airborne troops. Fighters orbit in protective layers. Bombers form up on precise tracks. Every movement is timed, tracked, and adjusted in real time. A controller leans into his microphone. Blue section, adjust heading 2 degrees east. Traffic conflict at Angels 12. The pilot responds instantly. Roger, adjusting. There is no confusion, no hesitation. The sky has rules now. June 6, 1944, Normandy, dawn. As the first light touches the French coast, German radar operators peer into their scopes with growing unease. Returns are everywhere. Too many. Phantom fleets appear in the Pas de Calais. Chaff drifts across screens, mimicking invasion forces. Radar deception operations, carefully planned and precisely executed, suggest landings where none exist. Meanwhile, the real invasion moves west. German commanders argue. Some insist Normandy is a diversion. Others suspect the truth but lack confirmation. Reports conflict. Radar data is unreliable. Communications are jammed. Time slips away. Overhead, Allied fighters patrol continuously. Radar-guided intercepts smash German reconnaissance aircraft before they can confirm what they are seeing. Luftwaffe sorties rise piecemeal, late, and disorganized. Pilots climb into the sky only to find themselves vectored into overwhelming opposition, or guided too late to matter. On the beaches below, soldiers land under fire, men fall, machines burn. But the Luftwaffe does not appear in strength. Radar has denied Germany its moment. Summer 1944, Western Europe. After D-Day, the air war does not slow, it accelerates. Radar networks move onto the continent, leapfrogging forward with advancing armies. Mobile radar units are set up near captured airfields. Fighter control follows the front line. German aircraft attempting low-level attacks are detected early. Night operations grow increasingly dangerous. Bombers and fighters alike are hunted by systems that never sleep. In captured documents, German officers write of radar nets and invisible walls. Pilots complain they are being seen without seeing in return. Fuel shortages limit training. Replacement aircraft arrive faster than crews can be prepared. The technological gap widens into a chasm. September 1944, a German airfield near Cologne. Hauptmann Ernst Keller studies a chalkboard filled with numbers. Sortie rates, fuel allocations, aircraft availability. The math is unforgiving. Radar stations have been bombed, some repaired, others abandoned. Allied jamming grows stronger each month. New Allied fighters seem to know exactly where to find German aircraft the moment they take off. Keller rubs his temples. It is not that Germany lacks brave pilots or capable engineers. It is that the enemy has woven detection, communication, and control into a single organism, a living system, and Germany is fighting it piece by piece. Late 1944, Allied bomber bases in England. Briefings are shorter now, routes are clearer, timing more precise. Radar weather reports predict cloud cover hours in advance. Navigation systems reduce drift. Losses continue, but planners can explain them, analyze them, adjust. War has become data-driven, and the data favors the Allies. Yet, even as Germany reels, one last technological shock still waits in the wings. Because radar is about to do something no one fully anticipated. It is about to reach out beyond detection, beyond control, and into destruction itself. November 18, 1940, Ruhr night. Snow clouds hang low over western Germany, smothering the moon and swallowing the ground in darkness. A German Ju-88 night fighter climbs cautiously, its engines throttled back to reduce exhaust glow. Inside the cockpit, the pilot scans the blackness ahead. His radar operator adjusts the Würzburg display, frustration tightening his jaw. The screen is noisy again. Too noisy. Interference, the operator mutters. Multiple false returns. Hard to separate targets. They have been here before. For months now, Allied jamming has grown steadily more aggressive. Frequencies shift, pulse patterns change, filters that worked last week fail tonight. But this time, the danger is closer than they realize. Above them, higher, quieter, an Allied Mosquito night fighter drifts through the clouds. It carries its own radar, lighter, faster, more precise. Its crew does not search blindly. They are hunting. The radar operator in the Mosquito leans forward. Contact below, single aircraft, range 2 miles. The pilot banks gently, lining up behind a target that does not know it has been found. Moments later, cannon fire rips through the Ju-88. It spirals downward, vanishing into cloud and flame. Another night hunter is gone. By late 1944, radar has become something more than eyes. It has become claws. Allied aircraft now use radar not only to detect bombers or guide navigation, but to actively hunt enemy fighters, submarines, and even missiles. Airborne radar units coordinate kills in darkness, cloud, and weather that once grounded operations entirely. German pilots begin to describe the sensation in similar terms. They appear from nowhere. We were detected before we detected them. The sky is no longer empty. The psychological toll is immense. Radar removes uncertainty for one side and imposes it relentlessly on the other. December 1944. The Ardennes. As German forces launch their last major offensive, hoping to split Allied lines, weather initially grounds much of the Allied Air Force. Snow falls heavily. Fog blankets forests and valleys. German commanders dare to hope, but radar is waiting. Ground-based radar tracks movement through gaps in weather. As soon as skies clear, Allied aircraft surge forward with astonishing speed. Radar-guided fighter bombers strike columns, retreating along narrow roads. Bridges are destroyed. Supply convoys vanish in fire and smoke. The offensive collapses, not because German soldiers lack courage, but because they can no longer move unseen. Early 1945. Central Germany. Allied bombers now fly with near-constant radar support. Pathfinders mark targets. Jammers confuse defenses. Controllers direct fighters to intercept rising enemy aircraft within minutes of takeoff. German radar stations, once symbols of technical pride, are now liabilities. They broadcast their locations the moment they turn on. Many are destroyed on the ground. Others sit silent, useless. The sky has become hostile in a way no pilot of 1939 would recognize. There is no safe altitude, no safe time of day, no safe weather. March 1945, Berlin. Inside a damaged research facility, German engineers sift through reports and test data. They know the physics. They understand radio waves, reflection, wavelength, pulse timing. What they cannot overcome is scale. Every Allied improvement is deployed across hundreds, then thousands of aircraft. Every German countermeasure appears in limited numbers, too late to matter. Radar is no longer a device. It is an ecosystem, and ecosystems, once established, are brutally hard to dismantle. April 1945, the Rhine. Allied forces cross under a sky thick with aircraft. Radar units coordinate artillery spotting, air cover, and movement across the river. German aircraft that attempt to interfere are intercepted almost immediately. The war in the air is effectively over. The outcome is no longer in doubt. Yet as the final weeks unfold, one truth becomes clear to those watching closely. Radar did not win the war alone, but it changed how war was fought forever. And long after the guns fall silent, the invisible waves that once swept across Europe will continue to shape every conflict that follows. May 7th, 945. Reims, France, early morning. The room is quiet in a way war rooms never are. Maps still hang on the walls. Phones still sit on desks. Ashtrays are still full. But the urgency, the constant hum of impending action, is gone. German officers sign the documents that end the war in Europe, their faces drawn, exhausted, hollow. Outside, engines idle. Somewhere nearby, a radio crackles with the news. The air war is over. Yet, even as the fighting ends, Allied officers, engineers, and analysts remain at their posts. They are not celebrating yet. They are recording, measuring, cataloguing. Because what has just happened in the skies over Europe is more than a victory. It is a transformation. Summer 1945. Britain and the United States. Captured German radar equipment is shipped west. Würzburg sets, Freya arrays, jamming devices, not as trophies, but as lessons. Engineers dismantle them piece by piece, comparing designs, materials, frequencies. They already know the conclusion. German radar was technically capable, in some cases, elegant, but it existed in fragments, separate systems, separate commands, separate purposes. The Allies built something else entirely, a network. Chain Home was never meant to fight alone. AI radar was never meant to operate in isolation. Bomber navigation, jamming, fighter control, and early warning were designed, sometimes clumsily, sometimes painfully, to feed one another. It was not a single invention that changed the air war. It was integration. An RAF debriefing room, late 1945. Veteran controllers speak quietly about nights when screens were crowded with returns, when timing was off by seconds, when lives depended on a steady voice over a crackling radio. A former night fighter pilot describes the first time he trusted radar more than his eyes. An American bomber navigator recalls realizing he could fly over cloud for hours and still hit a target he never once saw. None of them speak like men who believe technology replaced courage. They speak like men who survived because of it. Across Europe, the aftermath is visible everywhere. Cities flattened in patterns only air power can create. Rail lines severed. Factories gutted. Airfields cratered. But the true legacy of radar is invisible. It is in the doctrine manuals rewritten after the war. In the Cold War command centers buried underground. In the idea that information, gathered, processed, and acted upon faster than the enemy, can decide battles before shots are fired. Radar proved that wars could be shaped not just by who had more aircraft or better pilots, but by who could see first. Who could decide first? Who could act first? A final reflection. In 1939, pilots flew by sight, instinct, and luck. Clouds were shields, night was safety, distance was protection. By 1945, none of that was true. Radio waves crossed borders silently. Screens glowed in bunkers miles from the front. Controllers guided battles they never physically witnessed. Physics bent the nature of combat itself, and once that door was opened, it never closed again. Every modern air force, every missile defense system, every surveillance network traces its lineage back to those flickering green lines and ungainly towers on the British coast. The moment humanity learned to fight with what it could not see,